Okay, so I guess with all that's going on in Arizona, I wanted to say a couple of things, and I want to focus my comments on, again, a very big issue. And when I say big, I mean we have to step back and really see it from the adequate time scale in order to see it. But it's the rising problem of anonymity and people's struggle for meaning, for recognition, for community amidst anonymity. Um, I I hate to see, I'm saddened to see all of the people who keep commenting on this young man's name, promoting his website. I just looked at or his YouTube page. I just looked at the YouTube page, and millions of views that he received on his videos. And I think this is partly what he was after. And I think it's really tragic that there are people who now are. It's not that it's only now, but it's the anonymity is, I guess, it's what people are struggling against. I mean, not only do I see countless people who are, I guess, in some way trying to gain their own relevance by commenting on it. I mean, look at me shooting this video. I mean, it's very odd. There's so many other people who are shooting videos on it, talking about him. I had people send me emails saying, Corey, can you please go look at this guy's page and tell people, what makes someone like this? What was wrong with this guy? And part of me is thinking, why aren't we trying to study, Gandhi and the historical Jesus? And why aren't we trying to study uh, great poets and scientists, mathematicians? Why don't we try to figure out how to become those kinds of people? It's a different concern. I think this issue of anonymity is significant, though. I think people are struggling with it. I saw some video on, I guess it was for a TV a while back, and they had said that anonymity is a difficulty on internet, and it's partly a problem of trust. Of can you have trust amidst anonymity? I guess some people want to say that you can, other people want to say that you can't. And this video on Fora TV was quite interesting. I'll see if I can find the link for it. But the comments were utterly harsh, and the ratings were very, very bad, and they suggested that this is unrealistic and that you need anonymity in the internet, and that people aren't going to come out and use their real identities and stuff like this. I thought that that was interesting. I mean, as much as anonymity is a problem, I think people are struggling with it now. That some people are doing whatever they can to break through the anonymity. They feel so utterly irrelevant that they're doing whatever they can to be heard, to be recognized, to be noticed, and to gain some sort of relevance. There's that. There are also, though, other people who are now, I guess, taking advantage of the anonymity. I watch all this trolling behavior on YouTube, and it seems as if there are more and more people who like the cloak of anonymity because that's what they need in order to have what they're calling their freedom of speech. Now, I mean, the question of is it really freedom of speech if you need anonymity to exercise it? I mean, part of me wants to say no. Now, other people want to say, well, look at whistleblowers and look at those kinds of people who they need some sort of privacy in order to report on political oppressions, to report on injustices or abuses of power. As much as I would say, yes, I think that's true, but then that cuts against this ideal of transparency that I think so many people want to claim that we're after, especially in the context of the WikiLeaks. I think the WikiLeaks is resonating throughout the YouTube and throughout the popular media, partly because it's the back shadow echo of the problem of anonymity. You see? I mean, this issue of who gets what access to what information in earliest tribal societies, this wasn't a problem. You lived your life in public, and everyone, you were either like a distant relative or a closer relative, or you literally knew the person quite well. I mean, I guess there were occasional strangers, but mostly it was family bonds, little small tribes, 35, 50 people. 50 would have been a big tribe. To look at the way today, it's old. Bob Seger, says, I feel like a number. And, we've all seen pictures of millions of people at a given setting. I think it's hard to imagine what it must have been like to have been an early human and to have imagined yourself to be one of a couple of hundred people in existence. Like that was your wildest imagination, that you were one of a couple of hundred, or maybe one of 50. The felt relevance that humans must have had. Again, trying to imagine what it must have felt like to believe that that if you don't perform rituals in certain ways, food would be scarce, or spring might not come, or evil will befall a family member. It's amazing to think of what that must have felt like. I think today it's an increasingly secular society. It's an increasingly the society is increasingly one where anonymity is being struggled with. I think a lot of people aren't sure what the role of it should be. As I say, some people are doing everything they can to break out of the anonymity, and I think it's really tragic that this guy's name has been repeated again and again, and I think many people are giving him a kind of immortality and a fame that he, in his very mistaken heroics, was after. Now, could there have been chemical imbalance and mental illness and other things? Sure, I'm not that well informed about the case, so I don't really want to speak about him in general, but I do think as a phenomena, this is the number of people who went and are now interested in what this man has to say on his YouTube page. That seems to me quite odd. Why aren't they more interested in the really great human beings who have tried to revolutionize human consciousness and social relations? I think that is more important, right? To try to emulate people who have peacefully brought change and who have, I guess, not resorted to violence to bring about their whatever it is they were after. And again, the number of people who are shooting videos and talking about it, to what end? So they can parasitically now gain relevance from this just destructive way of breaking through anonymity? It seems so tragic. McLuhan, in his writing, really has an interesting set of distinctions, and they're all through his writing, but he says that literacy made surgery possible. And it's not just the technical ways that it gives information about medicine and all this kind of stuff. It's that literacy as a technology, or reading and writing, and if you take just the medium of written text, I guess it makes a kind of detached, valueless ruthlessness. I mean, I think there is that, but it makes, again, for a kind of acting without reacting, a kind of detached observer who can witness what's going on in a calm, cool way. And there's fascinating literature on illiteracy and gang violence, and on how again, becoming literate gives people some kind of vantage point by which they can gain distance from their own emotional reactions and to try to contextualize them in certain ways. Sort of interesting contrast to this is he says that the electric media, and in particular he's talking about television, what it makes possible is what he calls reacting without acting. And people are just, they're reacting without acting. And if you ask, what are they reacting to? Well, it's other people's reactions. And so there's this sort of circuitry of people reacting to other people's reactions, and what is the concerted, organized action toward which this is moving? I guess no one really knows. This is part, I think, of this, some of these new media and the problem of anonymity, of how do you get concerted action among the anonymously connected. I don't think that there is this group called us that is the anonymous. So I've seen some videos that were really popular recently going through YouTube talking about, and it's in line with WikiLeaks, and it's sort of saying, look, if you are working anywhere where there is corruption going on, if you have any information about abuses of power, share it with us, post it with us. You are anonymous, you are us. And it was sort of like, this is the argument. And yeah, part of me wants to say, yes, that's a beautiful ideal of a common, everyone is known, shared equal interests in open transparency. That, though, is, I think, that's potentially a view that's being espoused by people who aren't necessarily in the same group that, quotes, we are. See, I think information has strategic and tactical properties depending upon who listens to it. And there are easily, wolves in sheep's clothing who want to say, yes, come on, we're all sheep, let's have transparency here. I do think there are problems in anonymity. I don't have the answers. I wish that I did. I think part of it would be more discussion about anonymity and trust and the question of free speech. If people need anonymity to exercise their free speech, is it really free speech? Can you have trust in anonymity? To what extent are people engaging in both violent acts and just excessively egoistic, pant leg pulling acts in order to try to be relevant and take some kind of attention to themselves because they feel so anonymously lost in this crowd? I don't know. Those are some thoughts. Hope everyone is doing well. Thanks.